All right, I'll start with namaste to everyone. We are in pandemic, and we have been observing that handshakes and any kind of shake is not good and healthy. So we should be um, first follow some etiquettes and start from our home. I start thanking everyone who are helping today, nurses, doctors, all the frontline workers, and definitely. Um, um, And definitely, thank you for everyone who's hosting this. Thank you for, and sorry for anyone who has ever lost his family and friends. And everyone, stay healthy and keep working. Thank you for that. All right. This is the alert about the next year conference, which is coming. Hopefully, we'll be on the track and we'll be meeting face to face in Vegas for Microsoft 365 Collaboration Conference. Here is our speaker slide. Um, Thank you for the not speakers. Here's our sponsor slide. Thank you for all these sponsors for sponsoring such an event in a quick time. This is about me. Myself, Microsoft MVP last 3 years. I live in entertainment capital of the world. We call it Los Angeles. But in LA, we call ourselves entertainment capital of the world. I'm a global CTO for Golden 5 Consulting, and I'm a CEO for LAX UG Foundation. Golden 5 Consulting is a Microsoft Gold Partner and Tier 1 CSP. We are located in 3 locations: US, Canada, India. Um, I've been talking and working in Microsoft Exchange, Office 365, Azure AD, and other Microsoft technologies. I speak Hindi and English. I I talk a little bit of almost all languages of India and a little bit of Spanish and French. I've been practicing. All right. So my session is always sponsored by my company, which is letting me do my sessions during the office hours or even after hours preparing all that. All right, if you have not entered in the referral, I hope you would have already. This is the opportunity. Enter in the referral today, um, and you may win this Oculus. All right, I'm ready with my coffee. Um, Otherwise, you can uh, get a beer or anything which and relax there, and or enjoy up your pint. Let's start with a quick agenda. Um, I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are excited about it too. So first item in the agenda is Office 365 identities, planning considerations, utmost concern, graph permissions, design factors, provisioning and reprovisioning, foreign identities, self-services, security. So I'm going to cover all items here as a deep dive. All right, in Office 365 identities options, I would like to share that there are basically only 2 options. Identities can sync from Active Directory, which is on-prem, using Azure AD Connect tool, previously named as DirSync, or you can directly create cloud identities. So they'll be called cloud-only identities. So there are only two options that there, but how you further use them, that matters. Do you want to use Active Directory Federation service with or without proxy? Or you want to use pass-through authentication with or without seamless single sign-on? Or you want to use password hash sync with or without single sign-on? That's what you think normally, but there are other options. If you are not ready for all these three, and you have the option to also federate using third parties like OneLogin or Okta as the front end identity synchronizer. You can synchronize your AD to OneLogin, you can synchronize your AD to Okta, or if you are not using Active Directory, you may synchronize your AD, your directory to OneLogin or Okta and let Okta and OneLogin synchronize your identities to Office 365. Those are the other options which you might not have thought about. We're gonna deep dive on those in the next few slides. Um, Before that, we'll understand the planning considerations. The planning in such an is an important thing for identities. So identity is your basic crust of the pizza. That's how we should understand in an easy, in a normal way, and how important it is, if it is thick or thin, based on your choices and right choices. What matters today, you know. Maybe you need more protein, so you need the better toppings on the pizza, right? Maybe you like more bread part, so you want thick bread. Um, so here are a few items which I consider as a planning consideration. There's a one-time deployment, so we should understand that we are not going to do it every day, or we're not going to replace it every now and then. Next point is consider effort versus redoing. So um, if you spend 10 hours today, you don't want to repeat that time. Rather, you want to invest that 10 hours in doing something new, something better, something more improving, or something more challenging. You don't want to repeat that. You don't want to do something temporarily. This is building your basic uh, basic identities, basic base of your infrastructure. You want to build it more concrete and consider that loss of effort versus redoing. If you do that, that's the most important part. Consider pros and cons of every option, which I have explained you earlier. Maybe you want to do the password hashing. You want to do the pass-through authentication, or you may want to do ADFS with the ADFS proxy called WAP. Um, but you may not. You have to consider that that may require 4 servers in the high availability. With the high availability, you need load balancer. So overall, then in the planning consideration, we have to consider that what will be the pro and cons of each and every scenario which I'm planning to do. What is good for my organization? Then do you wanna plan for serverless or with server? Maybe your organization is planning to go serverless. Looking into today's situation, everyone working remote, no one is going in the office. Why do I need a server? Why do I want everybody to come to authenticate to my servers in the office? Rather, when everyone can work through their home, why don't they directly go to the cloud? So that you might want to plan that maybe serverless. Um, that could be one consideration. Other thoughts are, why not ADFS? I mean, you need to get the answers to say, yes, I don't want ADFS because of XYZ. I'm not getting more benefit of ADFS through ADFS. So I don't want that. That could be one consideration. Same way, next, SAML. So if you are using SAML today for authentication, ADFS got to cover. ADFS supports that. So you don't have, that's not a question today. Similarly, security, ADFS got it covered. You ADFS provide ADFS proxy, so you keep ADFS servers in the proximity area and you put the ADFS proxy in the front end. So that is taken care. Your ADFS servers are safe and secure. High availability is another consideration. You want high availability, you want to put the load balancer, you have to add that cost, you have to add that load balancer configuration cost. So that's part of the consideration. Different domains, ADFS got to cover. So, or Microsoft Federation got to cover it. So you consider that you're part of a multi-forest infrastructure enterprise, and domain A has a different AD forest, domain B has a different uh, AD forest, and you want to use one Office 365 that can be done. And ADFS got it covered means when you are federated and you write your email address user@domaina.com, ADFS will receive the token on domain A forest and authenticate you. If you, on the other hand, when the user B from domain B logs in, it will redirect the request domain B ADFS server. So if multiple forest, it's not a problem. ADFS got you covered. But you have to plan how you want to do it. Multi-factor authentication, ADFS got it covered. You install ADFS, you forward the request to multi-factor authentication. Office 365 provides that. You can use that. So it's not a question. These are my consideration. There could be many more depending on your situation, your environment. So these are the basic levels you should consider, and then probably you may add up on top of it. This will be your basic level of architecture of ADFS if you deploy in your infrastructure. This is showing Active Directory as a first, and then second is ADFS in front of Active Directory. They are part of a internet zone, and then you have a network load balancer, then you have a firewall, and then which is part of DMZ now. And now you see the web application proxy, which is called ADFS proxy. So it is proxying every request to ADFS server, and then NLB and firewall. Let me tell you that it's just not about Office 365. You can also proxy any of the web URL through web proxy. It can go to ADFS. ADFS can forward it to your company proxy if that's what you want as a security. So it is a web application proxy, just not for one thing. It can proxy, or it can receive the request. It doesn't have to go to ADFS. It can forward it to internal web server as well. If you need a MFA, multi-factor authentication, which you configured on ADFS, if you need that, that can be also adopted using this model. So that will apply for every web application. Moving on, I'm going to share this screen, which is showing infrastructure with AD Connect, ADFS, and the user is requesting a request. This slide is also showing what ports are required to be opened for authentication. So you can see that user is requesting a request from the device using 443 port at the bottom, and it's also needs, if it is going to be used certificate authentication, then it needs 49443, which is hitting web application proxy, which is ADFS proxy. So basically it is hitting your DMZ with these two ports, which are most safest ports. Everyone has this open, mostly SSL port 443, and 49443 is for the certificate authentication. Once you hit that, after that, it's only 443, which is hitting ADFS. The upper picture is showing AD Connect server. AD Connect server is replicating your Active Directory objects to Office 365 using port 443, and AD Connect application software also has configuration option to configure ADFS. So that's why it is also showing a down arrow that you're configuring ADFS using AD Connect server as well. So AD Connect just need a port 80 and 443. Most of the requests it uses 443. So these are normal web ports. Again, you are not risking anything. All right, next I wanted to talk about password hash synchronization authentication. Password hash is a one-time synchronization, or it can be synchronized continuously during the day. Um, but the point is, when you synchronize it once, then the request does not come back to Active Directory to authenticate. Then if you see the point number 8, user signs in to Azure AD. If that hash password matches, it stores a password. User is authenticated. So this is password hash synchronization. It is most simplest. You synchronize the password once to Office 365. You authenticate it next. You don't worry about anything else after hitting Azure AD. And these are the steps for synchronizing the password. Next is pass-through authentication architecture. So this is pass-through is providing one architecture which is saying that you don't need ADFS, but there are more packets which might be generated. There are more pointers which you want to use it. So it's not specifically one server specific that you have to go there only. It can be providing authentication to the nearby pass-through authentication agent. So once you configure this, the main thing you want to observe is your authentication is coming to pass-through authentication agent. Wherever this agent is located, that request can go there. You can configure multiple pass-through authentication agent globally. If you are owning a global organization or administrator or architect of global organization which exists in different countries, you may want a local authentication coming to the local AD forest. So you want to configure pass-through authentication to the local multiple servers, not just one. That going to reduce or shorten the authentication time, will provide you fast authentication, and without any restriction of cross boundaries of crossing one country or something. All right, moving on to the next. Well, these are the pictures. I took it from Microsoft, so you might see some Contoso, CoopNet. So these are all owned by Microsoft. I'm just using for this session and explaining much better in using these Microsoft created slides. However, I could have created my own and made it same way. But what is the use? And I would think that way. Not owning anything out of it. So this slide shows the browser-based seamless authentication architecture. When an application calls in using the browser, how the communication happens. As first, user tries to access an app, and app redirects to Microsoft Azure AD. User and Azure AD responds back asking user ID. User ID is provided by the user, which challenges the Kerberos ticket, and then it goes down to validate AD, validate the ticket. AD returns the ticket, and then challenge the Kerberos ticket, and then authenticates. Like if you see the process, it's like going forward, backward, going forward, backward. So this is pass through authentication, which is using this lengthier process. And next slide shows the native app-based seamless authentication. So it kind of similar process, but just for a chain, it checks that if integrated Windows authentication is enabled or not. If that's enabled, that works much faster. Um, Moving on, this slide shows together, if we see um, three options together, password, hash sync, pass-through authentication, and ADFS. So my slide on the left is showing ADFS. When a user requests an authentication from this device, it hits Azure AD, and Azure AD um, and Azure AD connects to the federation proxy. And federation proxy, we were talking about ADFS proxy or um, web application proxy, and that passes the authentication to the federation server. Federation server validates the authentication using Active Directory, returns back the authentication, and user is in. This process looks longer, but it's, believe me, it's a very light process. You don't even realize that how fast it moved. On the other hand, AD Connect synchronizes the user to Azure AD. It's that simple. You don't have to do anything extra for that. But you need to have the additional infrastructure for Federation Server and Federation Proxy. Moving on to the next is pass-through authentication. Pass-through authentication is less serverless, multiple location-based authentication. So use the request and authentication. Azure AD passes that authentication to authentication agents. It can be either one. So wherever the user is, it can be find out location based, and it passes the authentication request to Active Directory and authenticates the user. Same way, it synchronizes the identities using Azure AD Connect, and that's how it works. Now, most interesting is password hash sync. Nothing goes back to Active Directory. User sends a login request. Azure AD authenticates the user and let it use the applications. And Azure AD Connect just synchronizes the users and change of the passwords. It synchronizes. Now, in this table, I'm sharing the considerations like where is one getting authenticated? Where is other getting authenticated? Or the first point is where does authentication happens? So you can see password hash sync in the cloud, federation is on-prem, and pass-through authentication with seamless authentication in the cloud after secured password verification with exchange with on-prem authentication agent. So it just send it to the agent, or the agent verifies and validates that in the cloud. What are on-prem server requirements beyond the provisioning system AD Connect? So if you provision AD Connect for password hashing, none. For agent, you need one every location. And then ADFS is 2 for ADFS servers and 2 for WAP servers. And you want to have load balancer. So if you don't have today, then 2 backend load balancer, 2 front-end load balancer, then 2 firewalls, backend firewall, if you 2 front-end firewalls. If you're building from the scratch and you don't have it today, but if you are such an enterprise, probably you have those infrastructures today. You don't need those extra firewall and load balancer servers. You just need to add more load on those. So you might need to add more compute there, more resources there. What are the requirements for on-prem internet network beyond the proxy? I mean, for password hashing is simplest. Most of the time you will see that none, no, or yes, seamless SSO. So everything supports Azure MFA, there are more benefits of password hash synchronization, but for enterprise, maybe you want to think of pass-through authentication or federation with ADFS. I've outlined most of the things. Maybe I'm missing few, but most of it is there. Moving on to the next slide. Serverless SSO with Okta approach. So remember I was talking about Okta. So I wanted to share about what is their approach, or it could be similar approach for other providers as well. I'm not just pointing one provider. Um, so the way my Okta represents this is not absolutely correct that a single system, you can use single system into this paradigm, the way we are thinking, just not ADFS. It's ADFS versus Okta. So we have the other option, pass-through authentication or password hashing. So multiple system is gone, on-premise and cloud. So you have on-premise system and the cloud. Um, um, then you have delay in the sync. That's how Okta presents. But apart from that, what I want to highlight is Okta and other providers are providing their own cloud, which is synchronizing your or pulling your Active Directory data and pushing it to Office 365. So you don't have to add AAD Connect, you don't have to add ADFS, you don't have to add pass authentication or consider any kind of authentication or synchronization with Office 365. You That's kind of a serverless approach. If you want to use these providers, I think the goal has to be also achieve serverless authentications to reduce the number of servers and all the incoming dirt sync request, which might be coming through Office 365. Moving on to the next slide, which will share. Next slide is sharing some approach from OneLogin, which is OneLogin is another identity provider company. They have shared another approach, which all other identity providers also support, is only the cloud identity. Like remember, I was talking about cloud identities, so you don't need Active Directory at all. Just create the identities in their um, cloud, and that can synchronize to Office 365. You can manage those identities in their cloud. You can configure MFA from their cloud. So you don't have to do anything anywhere else. You can manage one login for authentication and identity creation, and you can create synchronize that with Office 365. Why? Now the point is why you need them is probably there are some third-party applications which may want to where you want to use single sign-on using one identity or Ping or Okta or any other provider because you just want one authentication to work. Um, so that one identity to be, identity to be same for every user, and the password should be same. So that's kind of ease to manage that. Um, that's one option they have mentioned. Other option was obviously you can synchronize Active Directory identities, and you don't need any server again for this requirement. However, the third option which they have provided or anyone providing is a federation. So you federate with them, you will synchronize Active Directory, but you also you're federated with them. So it's kind of doing the same thing with Azure AD. So this is another AD, you're federating everything with them so that you are trusting them. So these are the options if you want to use third party. I would think if I want to use third party, I would like to use it for the option 1 or option 2, where I'm trying to go serverless. This is not serverless. This needs servers. All right, moving on to the next slide, which is utmost concern. So what is your concern today would help you to identify the right solution for your organization. Considering today's pandemic, everyone working from home, and you would like to know what is my deprovisioning policy is today. Provisioning is good, adding and giving the right is fine, but how we are protecting ourselves by deprovisioning the the task completion. So if someone has completed the task, now this person doesn't need the access, or any service ID which has completed the task doesn't need access anymore. How you are dealing with that? That's today's concern. I mean, uh, we are not in a good shape today, but we are still doing great, remotely working, trying to keep the economy up wherever we are, in whichever country we are. We are working just not for ourselves, but also for our country, that keeping our economy up. Remember, but still those spammers, attackers are not sitting quiet. They're also working. They're also living their living. So they are still attacking. I have been listening all those attacks. Um, so deprovisioning is again one of the most important concern today. Then provisioning is how you're provisioning today is another concern. Um, Adding licenses, Office file licenses, how you're adding, manually going there, adding today one user join, tomorrow another user join, you're adding them again and again today, tomorrow. Which license we have to assign? One user wants um, E1, another user needs to get E5. So it's not same for every user. Depending on the requirement, someone may need Power BI, someone may need Power BI Premium 5. So all those different requirements, how you're handling that. Um, then global admins accessing everything from their home. Is it not concerning? Do you want to leave that forever, or is the security team concerned that enterprise admin logging in from their home? I don't know if they're locking their laptops all the time, or they're leaving it on, or their kids are touching the keyboard or something, mistakenly deleted the CEO's mailbox or something. Anything possible, right? Permission is there. Someone just came in and mistakenly clicked wrong way. You were adding some other extra permission or any extra setting. You're adding mailbox size, and mistakenly something happened because you were not in the right condition. So how risky it is? Just I'm thinking, giving some thoughts, not realistic, but giving some thoughts. Document saving, how everyone is saving the documents. Are you saving in the right place, desktop? How are you saving the files? Is a concerning today. Maybe once you're back in the office, maybe not, but at least for today, most of the companies are concerned. How much resource access you have working from home, and are you keeping all those things safe? So I'm working with some attorneys. I'm moving their files to Office 365. It's all those evidences. I'm going through and I'm moving those files. It's concerning to me if I give the access in wrong hands. So it's risky for them as well. So all those are concerns. Lost identities. You lost the power, but you have to work something urgently. Reach out to nearby um, Wi-Fi place. It could be coffee shop. You're sitting outside the coffee shop. I don't think anyone is entertaining inside, but you can probably sit outside and using their Wi-Fi. And maybe just for a fluke you lost your phone or something, and you lost the identity, and someone else may get access. All thoughts are coming. Then again, you are accessing everything from the open network. We don't know if the network is safe or not, so your device can get some malware or get ransomware. We don't know if your personal device is proof, BitLocker, all the securities are enabled or not. So those are utmost concern of today's environment when we are using Office 365 identities, or even working from remote. Um, Other things which I'm considering is in the identity space is assigning application permission. So you assign the permission to the application. Someone has application gets a permission, and you have that permission on that application. Some one of the application I have assigned is graph permission. So this is, I've added a link how I did assign it. But then if I'm assigning the permissions like this, it's hard to go back and remove that identity permission. It cannot be done every day this way. So we have to consider that um, that how we're gonna remove it or block it one day when we need to block it. Then designing factors. When you're designing identity solution for yourself or customer, you have to consider single sign-on has to be smooth. Just do it once and done. Don't have to pop up again and again. Security has to be there. Maybe multi-factor authentication, another security option. I'm going to talk about it in a few seconds. Easy to manage. It shouldn't be so difficult that I'm going 10 different places. I don't know where it is. I have to go there, 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 there. Not that. It should be easy to manage. Um, Automation should be there, so few things can be taken care automatically. Um, it should be easy for admins. It should be easy provisioning, easy and timely deprovisioning. So now we are not more concerned about provisioning, we are more concerned about deprovisioning. Cloud-based or on-premises based servers. You need on-premise servers for identities, or cloud-based is okay for organization. Directory synchronization to another service single sign-on provider like OneLogin or Okta or someone else or not is a big decision. Um, Only one synchronization or multiple synchronization. Um, One is recommended because it has less chances of overriding one thing. Maybe you have a situation where you are synchronizing identities from different domains, so you may be doing it that you may be having multiple sync, but I think I want to consider one place to synchronize all identities. I want to use one AD connect to synchronize all AD forest. You can have multiple AD forest, but as far as you are able to access other AD forest, AD connect can be configured to use multiple AD forest to synchronize identities. Um, Already discussed that point. Um, then non-active directory forest. Maybe you have Oracle identities providers or novel directory services. You synchronize those to third party like Okta or OneLogin, and they will synchronize your identities to Office 365. And that way you want to do that. So that's one of the other design factor. Provisioning and deprovisioning now. Active, so it's important. Active Directory group-based license management. If you do that, that's add on the automation. You have a member added to the group. It synchronizes with AD Connect, and you boom, you're done. Next, automation-based relevant license group management. So even you have to add somebody in the license group. Why don't we have an automation? When you provision the user, when you create the user, you add a custom attribute. He belongs to department number 5 or department number 4. And based on that attribute, we can configure an automation agent. That agent will add that user to particular group, and that group based licensing will work, right? Then adding members in a group to give the permissions using Windows 2016 Active Directory time-based group membership. That's a new feature. Then privileged identity management. In Office 365, we have privileged identity management, which can assign admin permission for limited time, and it can remove you in after some time, whatever you configure automatically. So every evening, there's no global admin. That can be the most useful thing. So even if someone hacks your global admin's password, can do nothing because this person is no more global admin. Then access package request, approvals, and access review. Now, what is new here? But probably you might have heard all first 4 points earlier, but the fifth and sixth, seven is kind of a new access package request. I'm going to show you in a moment now. In this slide, I'm going to show that access management. So the foreign and partner identities, you might have multiple foreign partner identities in organization who comes add the work like the consultants, and they do the work and they're gone after 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. What about the identities? Have you really blocked them? That's kind of a concerning. So added partners, added foreigners, but did we remove them ever? That's my concern. Do you have the same concern? Then you have to think about it. Either use identity governance, which is a feature in Office 365, which provides access package, access review, and or you can use Windows 2016 Active Directory Group with time-based management and privileged identity management. So if you are, or you can use both. So maybe just not one thing. You can use all of it. So access package, which comes in Microsoft Identity Governance, it allows you to create an access package for different departments. You join human resource, you have an access package that which only given to human resource. You join the IT team, then IT team has different package. You get the access by requesting the access package, and your manager approves it, and you get the access. I mean, configures your role and permissions everywhere. Um, Once this is done, after a few months, if you're temporary consultant, your manager can request access review to identify if you still need the access. If you still need the access, manager will have to reapprove it, and you're good. But if you don't, this request will say, okay, deny. I mean, I would say, I'm done with this 3 months project. You can remove my access. That's fine. My SharePoint development work is done. I'm done about it. I moved on to the Exchange project now. So I'm good there. But identity governance requires EMS E5 or Azure AD Premium 2 license. So you have to consider that if you're going to use that. Moving on to the self-services options. So in the self-services option, Microsoft Office 365 also provides self-service password reset. Try to use it. This is the best thing. You don't have to call anyone. No one has to call you to reset their password. Configure it. It's easy. Anyone can receive a authentication code on the phone, email, configure it. They're good. Then you assign automated licensing assignment. Then you assign automate automation in license removal. If anyone is gone, your agent should be removing their license as well. Automation in application access provisioning. Then automation in time-based deprovisioning as well. Then privileged identity management. These are all automated stuff. If you have it configured correctly, you are good. You don't have to worry about much. And this is kind of a self-service, I would say. Moving on to the security. This is probably my last slide. I'm not going to take much time here. So in the security, there are multiple options Office 365 provides. You start with Azure multi-factor authentication. It provides second level of authentication. If someone has password, they also need your configured device or authentication of another factor authentication. Then you need to have, then you can also configure privileged identity management. Like I said, global admins, you are global admin during the day, but in the evening you are not. So even if you have my phone or my login, you cannot do anything unless you know where to go and how to assign the access back. And when you assign yourself the access, everyone gets alert. So all other admins get alert that, okay, Prabhat got privileged identity management, global admin access. Now, is this supposed to work at this time? Is this 2 a.m.? Why is logging in? I'm in the different time zone, and I'm checking with him on the chat that, oh, are you in? Are you working? Okay, that's fine. I was worried because it's the wrong time. Then Azure Information Protection. We didn't talk much about it, but Azure Information Protection is encryption. You create the template once, assign the template to your document or the email. If your document is left on your friend's computer, he opens it, but he cannot check anything inside because the moment he opens, he needs to provide login. The login prompt comes to you as with MFA, and it fails right there. So that data is a crap for other person if you have configured Azure Information Protection encryption. So all the documents are encrypted and assigned the permission to you. No one else can access it. Um, that then you can configure conditional access. We didn't talk much about it. That's not related to identities, but for organization, Office 365 overall. So you can configure conditional access, or there are security defaults. Conditional access probably required Azure Active Directory P1 license, which you don't want to invest, but then you can use security defaults, which configures little basic default configuration to secure your Office 365 environment. Then self-service password reset I talked about already. You can reset the password there. Then Office 365 ATP is for email scanning and protecting you from the bad URL or attachments. Then Intune, you can start using the Intune for your users, and that provides at least the BitLocker and Azure ATP configuration. You can push more security features using the Intune. All right, this probably ends with most part of it. You might have already seen some charities slides. This is mine. If you still have left with some money, help me as well. This is my charity. All right. If you want to connect me with more, I have different places to connect with me. On Twitter that's my Twitter handle. On the Facebook, I have an Exchange group. On YouTube, I'm recording all the channels. Most of my speaking I'm recording will be sharing there. And then LinkedIn, I've had 2 Exchange groups. Recently, I created remote workers community group. So I'm trying to share more and more items or technical helps where what can help remote workers. In LA, I run 3 user groups: LAXUG, LF for Azure, and LAXUG Foundation, all IT. So feel free to join them as well. That being said, thank you everyone. Moving to the last, probably. Yeah, moving to the last Rafael item slide, and then maybe you want to scan and take it from there. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we have an initial question, and
sure.
I invite everybody to ask more questions using the Q&A. So let me read out for you the first question that
sure.
we got. How can we sync a B2B federated identity to an on-prem generic identity? I think that's a tough question.
No, there are different ways. So the question, which sounds like, how can we sync B2B, so business to business identity, and then to the Office 365, you said?
And can you sync a B2B federated identity to an on-prem generic identity?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. So B2B can be done using Microsoft Identity Management Server, MIM. Anyone have heard about it can see. So AD Connect is a subset of MIM. So that can be used to synchronize your identities between 2 forests and configure a user. You can configure a user. You can configure a contact, or there are multiple. At least 2 options are there. So you can configure either way, and you can use either completely for the migration purpose, or you can use it just for synchronization purpose, or just for the GAL synchronization between two forests. Next question.
Okay. Well, there are no other questions yet, but I still invite people to share one if you have any. We are exactly on time. Actually, the clock just hit 50 minutes, so actually you did a great job.
Yeah, I was concerned to finish it on time.
Yeah, well, you did perfect. So I guess yeah, great presentation, useful information. We had a good amount of attendees, so and they all sticked around. So it was a good session. Thank you for presenting.
Thank you. I'll be here if anyone has a question. I will be answering for a while, and if someone still needs have more questions, I will share my screen. I'm sorry if. Oops, not this. Yeah, they can email me their questions. I will be happy to handle and help them.
Okay, perfect.